Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the ElementalMaker. Today we are riding on the shoulders of giants, or I should say bigs, that being Big Clive. Saw one of his videos not too long ago where he took to bits a couple of these cool little portable sanitizer spray bottles, and immediately upon seeing it I thought, holy shit, that may be a great method of getting mixed metal oxide anode and cathode, or anode at least. The sanitizing spray bottles, you fill this up with water to the 300 milliliter mark, add a scoop of salt, about 10 grams or so. I'm actually going to weigh that out to see how much they have you put in. Plug it in, hit the button, and it goes on for some set amount of time, and apparently actually produces a bleach solution, a weak bleach solution, because you're electrolyzing sodium chloride solution and you're going to get NaOCl, which is bleach. So pretty awesome little product. Now, where I got super curious about it and what really piqued my interest is these are reusable. It's not a one-time thing, and at the freaking price I paid. I bought these right after Big Clive's video, which was probably a mistake, because as soon as he reviews something and says it works, the eBay price probably shot right the hell up, but I kind of had to have it. Alright, so this one looks like we have a couple, there's kind of a little plastic barrier in the way there, but beneath it you can kind of make out some metal plates, and the one does indeed look, actually they both look black, so they, hopefully these are mixed metal oxide. Let's take a look at the other one before we get into these any further, because this one looks to be of a different design type, which I think is probably preferable. Now, I don't know, what does EO blaster mean? Is that some sort of I've never heard of a bleach solution referred to as EO, so that's kind of weird. Back in the medical field we used to use ethylene oxide to sanitize stuff, but oh, looks like I got myself a used one. Oh shit, I probably should have opened this when I first received it. Clearly this thing has either been tested or used and returned. Now, I don't smell any bleach, but that would make sense. It's been sitting down here for 2 months, and bleach is actually pretty unstable stuff. It'll degrade itself back into salt after some time. Now this is pretty interesting. Okay, this is what I was expecting to see. Look at this beauty. So here is exactly what I was hoping to see. Sweet. So we have, on the outside you can see this mesh, and it's coated with something black, and then on the inside you can see we have a silvery looking electrode. Now what I'm really hoping this is, the black coating could be mixed metal oxide on the titanium mesh. Now we're gonna have to test that it's actually titanium, so grab a magnet. So it's a good first sign, non-magnetic, and if we look close there you can actually see the weld. You can see there's some kind of anodization, some titanium discoloring on it. Fucking focus. Hopefully you can see that there's some discoloration on there, which is indicative of titanium. Now we can of course spark test it. Just realized after the fact that I totally forgot to spark test this jobby. So we'll do a piece of known titanium. Alright, you can see nice white sparks. Yep. It's this thing. Yep. is without a doubt titanium. Not super white hot spark, so it might be an alloy, maybe whatever. Here's the thing, it's a Chinese product. It's probably whatever piece of titanium mesh scrap they could buy in absolute bulk that was left over by the Soviet Union in the 60s. That's probably what the hell this is. So take that with a grain of salt, but that is definitely titanium. Now those little nicks won't hurt it. Titanium, when used as an anode, passivates. It forms a passive layer, an inert layer to electrolysis. So that'll just turn a cool color. That's actually how you get those titanium smoking apparatuses that have the cool rainbow colors, if you're familiar with such things. Or sunglass frames, or something of that sort, you know? Just earrings. They do titanium earrings. Enough about titanium. Now let's test the other one while we got the magnets out here. Nothing magnetic there either. This one certainly doesn't look to be of as good a construction. This is the one I'm really excited to check out. I'm sure they both have cool little LED lights in them to make it look appealing. Sweet. So we have two different types to check out here. What do we got here? So 200 milliliters versus 300. Let's test them both out, see how they work. Now it says just to use table salt. I am using kosher salt just because it's what I had, and it doesn't have the sodium, what is it, sodium iodide? I think they had the table salt for iodine. So let's not cross our spoons up here. That's a phrase you don't hear outside of a heroin den. And let's see. Alright, 6 grams, so that's right between the 6 and 10 they call out on the instructions. And we'll fill that right up with no longer barbecue spray, it's deionized water. Fill that right up to the 200 mark. Give that a few more shakes while we're working on this one next. Alright. So that one is using a pretty significantly higher salt ratio. That's about 11 grams compared to this one being 6. Now this one's 200 milliliters versus this one being 300, but at that same ratio we'd expect to see 9 grams, so it's a little bit of a higher concentration. Just like your mom. Now the really cool thing, if this is MMO, that'll make the home production of chlorates much more accessible for folks, because it is, I mean, it's a pretty small surface area, but that's definitely enough to do some chlorate production, or at least get started in it. You could order up 2 of these. I'm sure the prices will go down once this fucking virus thing is over. Also, one thing I have been wanting to try is platinum anodes to actually produce perchlorates. Now, a patron actually did send me a beautiful platinized titanium anode that I still haven't started playing around with, but I actually want to try also making my own through a little platinum chemistry, seeing if we can't make it. Now, platinum chemistry is pretty nasty stuff, actually. If you get platinum salts on your skin, you become pretty rapidly sensitized to it, so you really got to be careful when working with platinum. It can be surprisingly nasty stuff for such a noble metal. Let's see what kind of wattage each of these is actually drawing. I got the kilowatt over here. Now it's not going to be super accurate because it's going through this converter and then it's losing some in here, but we'll be able to ballpark how much energy is going into each of these. Right. Turn it on. Oh, blue lights. Let me loosen the lid there, or top, so it doesn't pop or start squirting. Alright, so you can see we're making hydrogen and oxygen gas here at a not so bad rate, actually. We're putting 12 watts into that, and the beautiful thing is I don't yet see any degradation of the anode occurring down there. That tells me they're probably using MMO, which is freaking awesome. This could really be a great source. Now I don't know how long this thing actually runs, but I figure I'll let it run till the end and actually give it a test, see how the bleach is. This is pretty awesome. Alright, so I'm also going to plug this one in. We know this one's pulling 12 watts, so we'll be able to know what the other one is pulling by subtracting that. Wow, I can smell the bleach already. Alright, let's turn this one on. Another blue light. Beautiful. This is freaking great. We are definitely going to have to test this for making chlorates. So I'm just going to let these run to completion, however long that might be. Now, as I was mentioning, I do want to start actually messing with creating our own platinized anodes. So I have some cheap, let's see here, this cheap titanium substrate you can get right off Alibaba, eBay, dirt cheap. I don't know what the, I got some wool in there. Special Chinese surprise. But what I want to try doing is actually electroplating or maybe thermally decomposing a platinum salt onto the titanium electrode and seeing if we can't make our own platinized titanium anodes, which would be phenomenal for producing chlorates and perchlorates. With MMO you can produce chlorates, but you really can't push it into the perchlorate margin. Of course, perchlorates are a little more oxygen dense and typically also safer. You never want to make pyrotechnic compositions or anything with chlorates. That's how the the story of getting your hand blown off by an M80, aside from stupidity, happened, because it creates a very friction sensitive mix and can actually go off just by holding it in your hand and moving. So stay away from chlorates. But I do need to thank my patrons here, because this tiny little piece of platinum, this 1 gram platinum bar, was I think $48, and I got 2 of them, so we could I doubt 1 gram is going to be enough for me to figure out any sort of process, so I got 2 of them. So thank you to my patrons out there who make that possible. It smells like bleach. It smells like you're smells like you're at a swimming pool, except significantly stronger. Now, the good news is it looks like the electrodes are still holding up beautifully. I mean, you don't get a more aggressive environment for degradation than a DC electrolytic cell, well, a hypochlorate cell, where you're actually electrolyzing salt water, taking the one of the oxygens from the water and actually binding it with the NaCl, forming NaOCl. It's pretty nasty, and the fact these aren't degrading, they have to be mixed metal oxide. I would say could also be platinum, or that's really all that would really work there. Mixed metal oxide or platinum. I'm sure there's some other exotic materials that would probably work for a short time, but those are the 2 that would really do it. Obviously they're not going to use platinum, it's too expensive, so this by default has to be mixed metal oxide. It's also a black coating. Platinum would look like a dull gray. So it's been a few days. I didn't want to start tearing these down until we actually saw what they produced. Gave them a couple rinses in DI water, and this is all fresh DI water, so there's no skew in here. I got a Chlorine Test Kit. Good company, Hydrion. I use these guys for pretty much all my pH strips. Kind of probably the gold standard, at least for pH strips. Curious to see how these chlorine ones work. So we'll recharge these with some salt, give each one a test to see where the chlorine concentration is. If it reads maxed out on the scale, what we can do is dilute the volume by half and then see if it comes back up on the scale. That way we can get a good idea. Then we'll just multiply it by the number of dilutions, and we'll know exactly where the concentration of hypochlorite actually is in the original solution. So giving these a quick initial test, and Yeah, basically at 0 or 10 parts per million, which is a whole lot of nada. So that's good to see. Let's test the other one. Make sure I clean them out properly. Also, whole lot of nada. Good. So, let's run them both and see where they land after operation. Really curious about this. Now, Big Clive tested them. Obviously they work. I tested them. Obviously they work. You can smell the chlorine bleach. I'm just curious about where the actual parts per million or percentage falls. You gotta crack the lid a little bit, otherwise they pressurize, which I'm also going to be testing to see if you can fill a balloon with these things. I gotta say that the design that went into this one is pretty nice. Pulling about 11 to 13 watts. It seems to vary a little bit. Now, Big Clive did go into the electronics, so if you're interested in how these work and the electronics behind the circuit, which I think it really just probably a timer and maybe a current limiting device. It's been a while since I watched this video, so I don't remember exactly. But these run for 5 minutes on the dot, and in that time they produce a pretty sizable amount of chlorine bleach. So I'm curious to see where that percentage comes out to. Alright, they have both ran at this point. Only one run. I mean, you theoretically could press that button as many times you want and up the concentration up to a certain plateau. It'll start degrading and you can only, there's only so much salt in there as well. But let's see where these are. Give them a good shake, get some of the excess out of the lines. Oh! So our limit of reading is 200, and yeah, we're well over that for the small one. Let's see where the big guy stands. Flush this one out. The big one has a much better trigger. Alright, and that one is also at the 200 mark. So clearly we got to do some dilution here to actually see if we can get our numbers. I got a oh, those nuts in my throat. Ate a thing of peanuts and Jesus. We'll fill it to 10 and dilute it an additional 10 at a time so we can hopefully get our concentration. This is the only graduated cylinder I have handy at the moment, so sounds like the resolution to a good piss. So let's level that up to 20 with some DI water and then we'll test it. Give it a little swirl. We'll just use a drop so we don't alter the concentration too much. I have a feeling we might be doing this a couple times. Yep, so at half concentration we're still in the 200 mark, so we're clearly over 400 parts per million. We're going homeopathic on this shit. The more water, the stronger it is. It's a long day and I got a bit of a headache. Possibly related to scotch intake. Alright, so this would be testing for at least 1600 parts per million. Nitrile glove. It's like we're doing poppers. Poppers at the swim up bar. Alright, so we're at 80. This will be testing for 1600. Man, I'd say that's still above the 200 mark. I think it looks like we're at about the 100 parts per million. So I think that would mean the original stock solution was about 1600 parts per million, which is pretty damn far over the necessary 200 parts per million to actually sanitize stuff. And it's even above the 800, it literally double, the 800 parts per million needed to disinfect something. So this is making some pretty impressively high test chlorine here. I mean, it's nothing like the 5.25% solution you get at the grocery store. Buy a gallon for $2 at Walmart. What would that be, like 50? Yeah, I think it's like 52,000 parts per million, something like that. 50,000 parts per million, right around there. So this is like a 0.16. strength percentage solution, somewhere around there. I want to try putting a balloon on here and seeing if we can actually fill a balloon with the gas generated. Oh, saw some movement. Ho ho! Fully erect. Little balloon of HHO has some power, I'd imagine. Let's throw it in the vise and pop this baby. Alright, finally wearing Ear Pro. Dated from the 1970s. It's good stuff. Literally cork-based hearing protection. Oh yeah. Ears and eyes. Ah. Wasn't as exciting as I hoped for. Bummer. Gotta give it a second try. Add a little bit more water up top so there's less area for pressure to build. Hopefully we can do a little better than that last shitty kaboom. Purely out of the interest of chemistry, I'm gonna see where this household bleach sits. Yeah, so that brings it right to 51,200 parts per million for household bleach. Typically 5.25 concentration, so we're right on the money there with our calculating, actually. That is awesome. That's good confirmation that I'm not too much of an idiot. I remember always trying to do this as a kid, using old water bottles, and I'd take the graphite leads out of number 2 pencils, try to hot glue them into the water bottle, and run the damn thing off like, off like a 9-volt battery. Sprung a little leak there. And it would always leak. I've been playing with this stuff since probably like elementary school. I was trying to make little electrolysis apparatus. Alright, test 2. Let's see if we can get her to blow. Eyes and ears on. Woo! Holy shit! I don't know if you guys can see that flame, but jeez. Whew, that smells extra chlorine-y. Yeah. Maybe not the best idea. There's a lot of free chlorine in that. I think I just made a bunch of hydrochloric acid in the shop. As you can probably see here, I used part of a balloon to make an adapter to a latex hose to then pump it into some soapy water. Woo! I doubt the camera picked it up, but that was pretty loud. I'm going to go ahead and say that if your kids are stuck at home doing the remote learning bullshit, get this. Teach them a little electrochemistry and let them have some fun with with seeing, one, you're actually making water there in that reaction. That hydrogen and oxygen combining, you're making H2O, water. You're also splitting it here. So you can see kind of a transfer of energy. So you're converting electrical energy into chemical energy, which is then stored energy inside the bubbles. And then you release that energy by initiating it and combining those two gases, hydrogen and oxygen, back into water. I mean, that's it's awesome. Literally, as a complete junk way to build a cheap little easy chlorate cell, you could absolutely use this. I'm going to do it, guys. I'm going to try running this thing for a few days and seeing if we don't produce some chlorate. Alright, we are over at my other workbench. Oh! Don't look at that, fed boys. And I'm literally just going to use it as such. That's easy enough. Alright, guys, here we are a couple days later. You can see we have a beautiful crop of incredibly pure potassium chlorate crystals. Absolutely beautiful, big, kind of megalithic structure there. I'm not a geologist, so I don't know the formation of crystals, nor am I a crystal healer, as you might be surprised to learn. But those crystals there can do some pretty cool shit. So guys, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Please don't forget to thumbs up, subscribe, and if you like the channel enough, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Keep these videos rolling. Keep the sponsors away, because they send some pretty appetizing offers, and but you know, I'm not going to take them. I want to keep this channel independent. And thank you so much to my existing Patreon supporters out there. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a great one. Holy shit. I could hear it reverberate. Nothing better than a little electrochemistry. Freaking awesome.